Unlike humans, seagulls are able to drink both fresh water and seawater, as they are capable of separating the salt and excreting it through their nostrils. November 2, 2000 was the last time all living humans were on Earth at the same time. Ever since then, the International Space Station has been continuously occupied. The journal Science published a study saying that anywhere from 10 to 30% of water on Earth is older than the Sun, and that our bodies contain some of that water. The chocolate company Mars named the Snickers bar after their favorite family horse. Bruce Lee could throw grains of rice up into the air and then catch them in mid-flight using chopsticks. He was also recorded doing 50 chin-ups with just one hand. According to Business Insider, it's healthier to eat 2 hamburgers and no fries rather than 1 hamburger and a side of fries. This is due to the fact that the fries are empty calories, and by swapping the fries for a second burger, you're nearly doubling your protein intake. The maximum power a horse is capable of creating is 15 horsepower. The maximum output of a human is a bit more than a single horsepower. The brains of squirrels expand in the fall and winter time to help them remember where they buried all their nuts. When spring arrives, their brains return to their normal size. Costco intentionally designs their stores without signs, so the customers have to wander through all the aisles to look for things to buy. Researchers at Trent University in Ontario, Canada, tested the DNA of the chicken that was served at Subway. They discovered that the sample of chicken they tested was only about 50% chicken. The rest was soy filler. Corn always has an even number of rows on each ear, and there are 800 kernels in an average ear. The famous artist Leonardo da Vinci never had a last name because he was born out of wedlock. The Da Vinci part of his name came to be because he was born in the town of Vinci, so his name is Leonardo of Vinci. The Sun loses about 6 million tons of mass every second due to nuclear fusion and solar winds. Despite losing that much material, it has only lost about 0.05% of its original mass over the past 4.5 billion years. According to a study done by Biology Letters, the duration of time it takes for an animal to yawn predicts the size of its brain and number of neurons in its cortex. The longer they yawn, the bigger the brain is. The Japanese term sundoku is an act of acquiring reading materials or books and letting them pile up in one's home without reading them. The average motorist spends over 2 days a year simply waiting for a red light to change to green. A study published in 2009 revealed that in loud environments, people would more often try to hear something whispered to them with their right ear over their left. It also showed that subjects were more likely to comply with another person's request if it was delivered into their right ear. The University of Minnesota was founded in 1851, 7 years before Minnesota was even a state. It wasn't until 1858 that the state joined the Union. Donkeys are a good alternative to a dog for farmhands. They're capable of protecting livestock from coyotes and roaming dogs, and they also won't keep you up all night barking. At least 43 buildings in Manhattan, New York have their own exclusive zip codes based on their size, the number of people that occupy them, and the amount of money they generate per year. When woodpeckers hit trees with their beaks, they do so with a force that exceeds 1,000 times the force of gravity. The Japanese electronics company Samsung originally just sold noodles. It wasn't until 1970 that they moved into the electronics market. Due to having a number of hollow quills, all porcupines are naturally buoyant, helping to keep the porcupine afloat. Bees are the only animals on Earth that create food for human consumption. During breeding, a hummingbird will build its nest close to a hawk's nest. The larger birds will instinctively protect them from animals that prey on the hummingbird's eggs. If you took a single penny and doubled it every day, by day 30 you would have $5,368,709.12. Dogs have a second organ for smelling located at the back of their nose. Known as the Jacobson's organ, it helps improve the canine smell. The cicada, a flying insect found in Africa, spends 17 years of its life sleeping before it wakes up. Though millions of people worldwide claim to possess one, there's actually no scientific proof that photographic memories exist among adult human beings. Crows in Japan have mastered a technique to crack nuts by dropping them in the street and retrieving them after passing cars run them over. 78% of all former NFL players become bankrupt or under financial stress after they have been retired for 2 years. For NBA players, 60% of them become broke within 5 years of retirement. If you were driving to the sun in a car that was going at a constant speed of 60 miles per hour, it would take about 176 years to reach your destination. You're more likely to find icicles on the south side of a building because they are partly made from the sun, and the rays are the strongest when they shine from the south. Icicles are more likely to form on days where the sun is shining. Hummingbirds are only found in the Western Hemisphere, with almost half the species living around the equator. Only about 5% of hummingbird species live north of Mexico, and about 24 species live in the US and Canada. Speaking of hummingbirds, a hummingbird's brain makes up 4.2% of its entire weight. This is proportionally the largest of any other bird. According to studies, they are capable of remembering migration routes as well as every flower they have ever visited. Even though the island country of Iceland has about 1,300 types of insects, there are no mosquitoes at all. The neighboring countries of Greenland, Scotland, and Denmark all have mosquitoes. McDonald's has been taking advantage of the used cooking oil in the UK. Since 2007, they've been using the leftover oil as fuel for more than half of their fleet of delivery trucks. China is the #1 producer of peaches in the world. In 2016, world production of peaches was 25 million tons, led by China, which produced 58% of the world total. The wheel is the classic example of early human invention. However, there are several important inventions that predate it. Clothes, jewelry, sewing needles, baskets, rope, boats, and the flute were all invented before the wheel. In 2016, the nearest star to us, called Proxima Centauri, produced a solar flare so powerful that it was visible to humans on Earth. Eugene Cernan was the last man to walk on the moon. Before making the return to Earth, he wrote his daughter's initials, TDC, in the dust of the moon. A squid's esophagus runs through its donut-shaped brain, which means that the squid can't swallow anything too large. The first time a black and white barcode was scanned on a product was on June 26, 1974, at a Marsh supermarket in Troy, Ohio. The product scanned was a 10-pack of Juicy Fruit gum. The bones of a pigeon are actually lighter than the total weight of the bird's feathers. Its bones are hollow and thus very light. This characteristic facilitates its flight. Despite having 6 legs and being around for over 300 million years, dragonflies aren't capable of walking. It's actually possible to walk from one side of the United States to the other on a single hiking pathway. The American Discovery Trail is 6,800 miles long and crosses the country coast to coast from Cape Henlopen State Park in Delaware to Point Reyes National Seashore in California. Unlike regular tires, the tires used for NASCAR teams are actually filled with nitrogen instead of regular air. This is because nitrogen has a more consistent rate of contraction and expansion, giving the car better traction and handling than if they were just filled with air. There are more people in the world who learned English as a second language than those who learned it as their first language. New York's Brooklyn Bridge, which was finished in 1883, actually predates the Tower Bridge in London by 11 years, the latter not being finished until 1894. The Dalmatian was used in the fire service to keep the horses calm. Also, when a fire alarm sounded, the Dalmatians would run out of the firehouse barking to let bystanders know that they should get out of the way because the firefighter's wagon would soon come roaring by. They also served as a distraction and comfort for the horses as they pulled the wagons closer to a blaze.